Hi, everybody. Welcome to Twitter Marketing with George Brown College. We are at week 3. I can't believe it. And this week we are going to talk about content and tools. It's still me, Allie, here, coming at you from my computer. For those of you that are trying to get a hold of me, and Twitter is maybe not the most appropriate way because you've got some personal question to ask or you want to talk about assignments, things like that, don't forget you can still email me, alliegbc@gmail.com. Otherwise, I will catch y'all on Twitter. I've also started a list for this class. I know on my Twitter account before it was from a previous class, but now that I have everybody's assignments in from the first week, you should now have access to the this class's list for Twitter. So if you go to my profile at Ali Casella, you'll see in my list that there's a Twitter marketing class for fall 2017. So you can check that out. Okay, this week we're talking about content and tools, and we're going to be doing a walkthrough of some of the tools. So this lecture might be a little bit longer than you would expect, but that's because we're actually going to see what tools look like behind the scenes when you're actually using them. Before we get into dealing with the tools, we're going to talk a little bit about Twitter content mix. We're going to talk about tools of the Twitter trade, and then I'm going to talk about assignment number 3. So first and foremost, you always want to go back to your purpose. Why are you on Twitter? To get followers. Well, I've been seeing a lot of this. So a lot of you seem to really be keen on getting more followers based on the answers to the survey that you've created, and also some of the tweets that I've been seeing is that everyone wants to get more and more followers. Who really cares about your followers if they're bots? Who cares about your followers if they don't engage? So really, when you say, why am I on Twitter? Getting followers, it's kind of like saying, oh, I need to be on Twitter because I need to be on Twitter without any reason. What is the reason for more followers? What you really want to do is drive website traffic. Maybe you want to gain consumer insight. Perhaps you want to grow your e-newsletter list, or you want to assess your qualified leads. Getting followers can be a tactic, but it's not a purpose. So if you know that if you have really high quality followers that are actually engaging with your content and you know that they click through more often, then great. Having more followers means more click-throughs. But if you are if you have 1 million people following your account and not a single one of those 1 million followers clicks on any of your links or retweets you or engages with you in any way, then who cares if you have 1 million followers? It's not going to get you anywhere. And this is a great quote that I love. Marketing is the art of telling a story that resonates with your audience and then spreads. So again, if you have 1 million Twitter followers, but not one of them engages with the stories that you're telling, then what is the point of having those 1 million followers? Okay, let's talk about content mix. So your content mix is basically everything that you're posting that turns into your Twitter feed. And I like to think of content mix like creating a really great meal. You can feed yourself mushrooms, you can feed yourself, some hot peppers, and alone they are food and they will provide you with a little bit of sustenance. But if you are mindful about everything that you're putting together when you're creating your meal, you can have a mix of everything that will make something delicious. So using that analogy, you want to go from just ingredients to a full meal. So how are you going to curate your Twitter feed to make it a full meal for your audience as opposed to just ingredients here, there, and everywhere? So when we're talking about content mix, we're talking about all of the different bits of information. So there's really 3 types of content that you can be posting on Twitter. A call to action, so you're asking somebody to do something. This is typically original content. You can have engagement, so that's when you're doing something. So you are liking, you're retweeting, you're interacting with people. And then there's found content, which tells people that you're social. So this is finding content from other relevant sources, something that you didn't write, and then posting it to your audience. Remember, we're always wanting to think about when we're creating original content, what is the purpose of that content? Oftentimes, when I'm talking with clients or even with students, people will say, "Oh, I need to get blogging. I got to get a blog set up because we just, you got to blog to make money." But if you don't have a purpose behind those blogs, which you're then going to be posting to your Twitter account, then you're kind of just, you're doing it for no real reason. So what is the purpose of your original content? Is it conceptual? Are you trying to educate people? Are you trying to start a conversation around something? Buffer does a really great job of creating conversations. Are you putting your opinion out there? Maybe you're trying to set yourself up as a leader, a thought leader in your industry. So opinion pieces can be very important for that. Are you trying to entertain people? There's lots of great visual content that you can use to entertain people or provoke some sort of emotional response. It can be informational. It can be persuasive. If you're working for a nonprofit organization, maybe you are trying to educate, but you're also maybe trying to fundraise. So all of these original content pieces includes that call to action. And call to action, it doesn't have to always be right in your face, like read this, sign up now. Those are great calls to action, but and those types of calls to action should be embedded in the content that you're linking to. So your blog post should always have a very clear call to action. But when you're tweeting, you also want to think about what is the purpose? What do I want people to be doing after they have read my tweet? Do I want them to be clicking on a link? Do I want them to be hitting the retweet button on this meme? What is it that I'm trying to get people to do? So when you are using a call to action, you're trying to get your followers to do something. And in your resources section, your additional reading, there are a bunch of links to articles that talk about calls to action and some good ones that you can use. So types of calls to action that you can use can be something like join free for 30 days, register now, download your ebook. These types of things are also going to be what your bosses are obsessed with. So if you have a call to action like join free for 30 days, your reporting metric will be how many people joined free for 30 days, how many people registered, how many people downloaded that free ebook. And these call to actions will come into play even more so when we talk about using Twitter cards and Twitter advertising. But again, check resources, the resources section for week 3, and there will be more examples of this. And you need to think about and evaluate what types of original content already exists. So do you already have blog articles? Are there webinars and presentations that you can be sharing with people? Have you created white papers and ebooks? Maybe it was a while ago that you created them, but if it's still relevant content, you can keep resharing that information. Do you have images? Do you have video? So you need to take stock of what you already have and then think about what you are planning on creating. So, Twitter is a vehicle to help you share all of these other types of content and get it out there to your audience. And if you don't have anything relevant to be sharing, then you need to reassess your content plans overall, not just for Twitter, but for your entire organization. But take stock of what you have and know what you're going to be creating in the future so that you can understand what your content mix can be made up of. Okay, so when we're talking about engagement, which is the I do something type of content, it's really acknowledging that social media is a two-way street. So when it comes to Twitter, you can be liking things, you can be hearting things, you can be commenting, you can be retweeting. So these are the type of ways that you can engage with people on Twitter. And then there's found content. So, engagement is also I'm social, but found content is I'm socially aware of what's going on. So this is content from third-party sources. It has to still be relevant to your audience. It can be used for networking purposes. It can be conversation starters. It can be educational. The number one rule is read it before you tweet it. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people who have tweeted an article and, made some sort of comment about it, but then when I click through and read the article, it is very clear that they haven't, in fact, read that article. So read it before you tweet it for sure. And then you want to add context to make it relevant to your followers. So you can definitely just tweet something with the title of that article if you think that's relevant enough. But if it's something different than what you would normally post, you want to add your own commentary so that people know that you have read it and that there's a reason behind why you're posting it. Okay, so everybody always wants to know what the perfect mix is. So, how many engagement posts do I do? How many found content? How many do I do with my call to action? In the Facebook marketing course, we go through a lot of different examples because I think when it comes to Facebook, there's a lot more variability. For the purposes of Twitter, I personally think that 411 is a good theory to start with. So this is a theory that you put out 4 pieces of found content, you do 1 engagement and 1 original content. So that's kind of the ratio of everything. So you can start here, and then based on the content that you have, based on your own personality, your brand's personality, you can change these up a bit. So for example, for me, I do a lot of reading, and so I would put out, for my own personal Twitter account, I usually put out more found content than anything else. So it'll be a lot of articles that I find. But I also engage a lot with other people. I'll tweet at people. I will like or give them little hearts. And I also do a lot of direct messaging with people on Twitter. So my engagement ratio is probably a lot higher. And right now, I'm not putting out a lot of my own original content because my own personal blog is under development. So I'm not doing a lot of original content. For me, it's more found and engagement. So this is something that you need to think about for your brand. If you are a brand like Buffer, for example, my old crush at Buffer, they put out a lot of their own original content. So they are cranking out tons of articles, and the articles that they create are resource rich. As you know, I mean, I link to a lot of them. They're part of a lot of the resources for this course and for any of the social media marketing courses that I teach, because I think that they are the best resource and the most reliable resource. So when you look at their Twitter feed, you'll see that it's a lot of original content that they're posting. They're posting a lot about themselves, but that's because they've tested and they know that their audience wants to see the articles from them. They know that they're a trusted source, and that's based on interactions that they have with their community, and they know that the information that they're posting is going to be the best content. They do also post found content from other trusted sources. So you'll often see posts from Moz.com. Moz is a great resource for search engine optimization articles. And kind of like web development type stuff. They also post a lot of articles about transparency in business, because Buffer is really big when it comes to being transparent about business. And of course, their engagement is quite high because they always comment back to people. So their ratio is going to be different. Your business is going to be different, and you need to test and try out a couple things. But from a basic where do I even get started, I would highly recommend a 4-1-1 ratio. So like I said, each organization is going to be different. You need to try things, measure it, adjust, and then repeat that process. But always remember your purpose. I've got a link here to the Buffer blog, surprise, surprise, and they have a really great breakdown of a bunch of different theories that I've been teaching these different theories for a couple years, and then Buffer has gone ahead and put together this great article putting everything together. So you can go and read in one place all of the different theories that are out there. But once again, pick something that you think is going to work for you, pick something that feels like is achievable, and test it and see what works. And that's how you can figure out your content ratio. And of course, you never have to follow it to the letter, but it's really just a place for you to get started and to feel like you've got at least some sort of mix happening. Okay, so let's get some examples. So say, for example, you're a newspaper. Your ratio is going to be way different than 4-1-1 because it's going to be all about the articles that you're posting. If you look at the Toronto Star, if you look at Reuters, if you look at any major newspaper, most of their posts are going to be just the headline of their articles and a link to that article. They might every once in a while engage or they might retweet something from one of their like lead investigative journalists, something like that. But for the most part, their focus is really on the call to action. They're focusing on writing the web content, not engaging with people on Twitter. Say you're a telecommunications company, like TechSavvy, for example, they are using their Twitter account. If you go to TechSavvy Helps, I believe it is, or TechSavvy Assistance, they are using Twitter as customer support. So their engagement is going to be extremely high. Their call to action on something like a customer service page is going to be a link to recent outages or a link to their help forum or something like that. It's going to be mostly engagement because they're going to be helping people troubleshoot their internet issues or their service issues. And every once in a while, they might post something from maybe it'll be another service provider, maybe it will be from a modem company that they trust, but it's not, for the most part, it's going to be engagement. And then if you look at a beauty brand, say like a Sephora or Aveda or something like that, their calls to action are, it's going to be there. I mean, they're selling product, that's their whole goal, but they're also going to be engaging with people. So they're going to be tweeting at people who have been using products that they're spotlighting. They are going to be posting a lot of memes. They're going to be interacting with beauty bloggers, things like that. And then again, with their found content, they're going to be retweeting things from, if it's a Sephora account, maybe they are highlighting a certain brand like Urban Decay or Anastasia Beverly Hills, and they're going to be retweeting that content. So their content mix is going to look very different and going to be a little bit more balanced. So it's because their focus is on visuals. So it means there's more time for it's going to take them more time for content creation when they're going to be focusing so strongly on those visuals. So this is just an example, just based on a quick look at some different Twitter accounts that are kind of in these verticals. And so you can see that there is no perfect answer for every single brand, but you can start with 411 and then evolve it for whatever works best for you and your audience. So again, each brand is going to be different. Try, measure, adjust, repeat, and always remember your purpose. Okay, let's talk about tools. So when you're managing content, you always want to have Twitter in your organization's content calendar. So I know that in the social media marketing intro course and the community management course, you talk a lot about content calendars, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. There are links in your resources section for examples of content calendars. You want to talk about your frequency and the mix. So how many times are you going to be posting on Twitter? What is that mix going to be? And then your time commitment. So this will depend on your mix. If you if you know you're writing a ton of material, you write like 5 or 6 blogs a day, first of all, you're a friggin' blog champion of the world. If you can write 5 or 6 different blogs a day, that's amazing. But you know that you're going to have more content going out that you've created than some of the other things. So what is that time commitment? And in terms of frequency, that is something that you need to figure out what works best for you in terms of frequency. The average life of a tweet is about 7 minutes, depending on how many people your followers are following, if that makes sense. So a tweet disappears from people's streams pretty quickly. So whereas on Facebook, you probably only want to post a couple times a day, on Twitter, you could probably post like 10 or 15 times a day. And provided you've got it spaced out and your followers are not getting annoyed and dropping like flies, you could theoretically keep that up indefinitely. Okay, so I've got these preloaded up here. So the first one that I want to talk to you about is Buffer. So this is the Buffer dashboard. Buffer, there's a free version, so you definitely want to sign up and get your free Buffer account. This is going to be part of our assignment this week anyways, is to sign up for these accounts, so it's super easy. So I have it set up for my personal account, and I've also got it set up for the Facebook marketing group that we have with George Brown College. So right here, I can share any articles, I can share a tweet, and I can I can add that to my queue. So oh gosh, and here I am forgetting our course code. 9604. Too many courses. And then I can add that to my queue. So, and then I can take a look at my queue and say, okay, this is going out today at 4 o'clock. Well, maybe I don't want it to go out today at 4 o'clock because you guys aren't going to be able to see that, and you're going to say, hey, where did it go? So maybe I'll get it to go out tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and I can at buffer. I decided to change my mind, so I'm going to use buffer, and I'm not going to add a photo, or am I going to add a photo? I mean, maybe I could add a photo, but I'm not because I don't have one preloaded. So I'm just going to save that, and that'll go out tomorrow. So they have other options as well. So if you have, if you decide to upgrade to the Awesome plan, then you can have all sorts of RSS feeds in here that you can pull from, but I'll show you a workaround. So this is Buffer. It's pretty easy to use. They've got really great customer service. You get analytics, but you can get analytics through Twitter anyways. This is just like a really quick, okay, I'm going to take a look and figure out how I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk more about analytics next week. One thing that I really like about Buffer is that you can set all sorts of different posting times for different days. So if you know that Tuesdays is the best day for you to post, then you can you can change what time things are going out based on which day, or you can use the Buffer's optimize your schedule, optimal timing tool. And then that will say, oh, these are the, okay, say if I want to post 3 times a day, and then you can calculate the times that are the best times to tweet based on engagement with some of the other tweets that you're doing. So I can then replace my existing schedule with the optimal schedule that they've selected for me. And then, of course, I want to be using Buffer often so that I can then get analytics to see, hey, is their schedule working for me well, or is it not working for me? So that's Buffer. Next one we'll go through is TweetDeck. So I am not the biggest fan of TweetDeck, I will admit. It can be really overwhelming. It can be something that is like super duper frustrating to deal with, quite frankly. But it is a way that you can manage and update your Twitter account. You get to see everything kind of in a dashboard right away. You can manage multiple Twitter accounts, and you can post your tweet. So you can schedule through here. You can add images and basically manage everything like you would through regular Twitter. If you like having everything all in one place and being able to see things side by side, then it can be quite helpful. So if you want to see all of your all of the tweets that are coming through in your feed in one place, plus all of your notifications, plus all of the different activities. So if you want to see people liking whatever, and if you want to follow another user, so that's my other Twitter account, then all of that information is going to be right in one place. So that can be helpful. The next one I want to show you is Hootsuite. So Hootsuite is a it's kind of an industry standard in terms of managing your social media accounts. With a free account, which is what I have, and TweetDeck is free, so there's that as well. Hootsuite, there is a free version. I think you can manage up to 3 different social media accounts. So I have it set up for my personal Twitter account. You can see that there are a lot of very similar streams, like how you would see with TweetDeck, but it's not quite as busy and smashed together. So you're able to see all of your mentions. If you have scheduled tweets, they can go in here. You've got your home feed. And then, of course, if you wanted to, you can add another stream, which can be a keyword. So say I want to track our course, I can add that, and then all of a sudden there are all the tweets that everybody has used with the hashtag for the course. So that can be really helpful. You can compose messages in here. You can add a link which gets shortened. You can schedule your posts, and you can also do advertising and things like that through Hootsuite. If you are a part of a larger organization, you can also add collaborators and give them different types of permissions. So this is just another way to manage social media accounts. And again, I've got another tab here, which is the Facebook marketing group for the George Brown College course. So I'm able to see the timelines, and if I've scheduled any posts, I can see it here as well. So say, for example, you're working for a social media agency or some type of marketing agency, you could theoretically have all of your clients right here in one spot, and you could be managing and engaging without having to log out, log back in, and manage everything that way. So this is a way to manage multiple accounts. There are analytics features in Hootsuite, but I personally find using the Twitter built-in analytics to be much easier. Okay, so then if we want to talk about creating and finding and sharing content, we've got a couple of different ones here. So let's talk about Twitter lists. I know a lot of you have been really keen on learning more about Twitter lists, so I'll just show you what mine looks like. So my profile, if we go to lists, mine are mostly private lists because they're really just for myself. They're not for anything other than that. So you can see that I've got everybody, not everybody that I follow, but most people that I follow, or the ones that matter to me, are in a list. And this has been key for me, especially because I started my Twitter account a long time ago, and I was working very specifically in the nonprofit sector for an environmental charity. So a lot of the followers and a lot of people that I started following originally were kind of related to that organization. And though I'm still very interested in environmental science and biology and things like that, I'm not as active in that community. So my Twitter feed was getting totally out of control. So I've been slowly but surely going through and unfollowing people and following new people, but also adding everybody into these lists. So as you can see, I've got a list for the Twitter marketing course. So this is everybody that's in the class. Hi everybody, how are you doing? I can see your tweets. And if I wanted to just see who the members are, I can click on members and I can see these are all of the people that are in our Twitter marketing class. And if you wanted to, you can see this list because I've made it public. You can also subscribe to this list. So I've subscribed to a number of different lists that I really like, in addition to making my own lists. So I think lists are a really great way for you to manage different things. So a lot of times when I go to Twitter, I go to my lists before I go anywhere else. I check my science list. I say, hey, what cool things are happening in the science world? Or maybe I'll take a look at the news and say what's going on generally in the world. So you can take a look at everybody who's in these lists to get just a better experience on Facebook. Because if you go to your home, and a lot of you have mentioned this, it can be just like such a hodgepodge of things. It'll be, family members, and then Neil deGrasse Tyson, and then, different sports related updates, and like, what even is this thing? So it can be really overwhelming, and I find that using Twitter lists for management and for just getting a better personal experience is really great. And also, if you are running a business and you have people that you work with all of the time, or you have, maybe you have trusted suppliers, maybe you're a boat mechanic and you are the official supplier of several different gadgets for boats. You can add all of those people, all of those other companies into a list and make it public. So it's kind of a way for you to also publicly say, I am linked to these individuals or I like these individuals. So those are just some different ways that you can use lists to help manage your Twitter experience. Okay, Feedly. Feedly is super awesome. It's basically a way to pull all of your favorite blogs or news sources into one place and read it all here. So they've got a great iPhone app that I also use. But basically, you go to feedly.com, you can sign up for a free account, and then basically you have all these different feeds. So if you just want to see like certain things, so for example, I'm following the Buffer Open blog, I can see all of their most recent updates, or I can just view everything in my marketing stream. So if I don't just want to see HubSpot or just Mashable social media, I can scroll through and find anything that I want. And then if I want to add content, I can easily do that. I can either set up for a keyword or I can add a source, and I can say, so there's Social Media Examiner, and I can say, yeah, I'm going to follow them, and I want to put them into my marketing feed. So then all of a sudden they show up there, and that's where I get all of my content. So how you can use this is by going back and talking about, okay, so in my content mix, I need to have a certain number of articles that I have found. I need to find those articles from somewhere, and I have trusted sources. So I've done my research, and I know that, Seth Godin is a great person to have content from. I know that, who else do I really like? I like Unmarketing. He doesn't blog very often, so I really just watch his Twitter account to see if there's anything good to retweet. Who are the experts in the industry that it's relevant for me to be retweeting? Where are the sources that it's relevant for me to be tweeting from or finding those articles? I can either retweet something from HubSpot, or I can find something really interesting in their blog because they've newly updated it, and I can share that with my followers. So this is a way for you to find and manage your found content. And if you end up upgrading your account, you can integrate it to Hootsuite as well. I'm only using the free, but you can upgrade and you can get these different integrations. So for if you want to pay basically $6 per month, you can integrate this so that you can share it on all sorts of different services. So you can use it with Buffer, you can use it with Hootsuite, you can share things on LinkedIn, and so it's pretty nominal in terms of how much money if you're going to use this quite often. So that's Feedly. Audience. Okay, if you haven't already signed up for your free Audience account, do so now. This is what it looks like when you log in. So I've got my 2 accounts set up here, but we're going to look at my personal account. So there are a lot of different sections here. Only some of them are going to be relevant to us because we're using the free accounts, right? So let's take a look at, I think I've done that. So they have a best time to tweet. So I have run a report just before starting to record this video, and we can look at a report and say, okay, so this is the best time to tweet for my personal account. So it tells me that my best time to tweet in the next 24 hours is going to be tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and usually, Monday at 1 o'clock is going to be the best time for me. And I can also talk about like what my community typically talks about. I feel like everybody's Twitter feed probably is talking about Trump for some reason. And a lot of the shares that I'm getting are about these different topics. So if I want people, maybe I want to increase my shareability, I want to think about, are any of these topics relevant for me to be tweeting about? Then you've got like this hot map. So the larger and darker the dots, the more more better it is for me to be tweeting at those times. So you can look at this heat map and say, well, these are when my community is online. So you could take the approach of saying, well, I want to tweet when the most people are online. Or you could say, I want to do long tail here and say, I'm going to tweet when there are fewer people online because there's maybe more of a chance for them to see my tweets. So those are some different options. You can export these things to Hootsuite, and you can also do it with Buffer. So you can do a deep dive and you can find like all of the different percentage of community users based on the time of day. So what percentage of your community is online? You can also do it based on day of the week. So, I mean, people are typically online most days, but you could use this. Maybe your graph looks totally different and, you know, nobody's online on Wednesday, so why tweet on a Wednesday if your community isn't there? You can also look at the different exposure that you're going to get based on the day and even based on the hour. So this is on every day, but I can switch over and say, okay, what does Wednesday look like? Because I know Wednesday's peak. So if I've got peak exposure on Wednesdays, and I know on Wednesdays my peak exposure by hour is at 1 o'clock, then maybe Wednesday at 1 o'clock is going to be the time that I want to tweet. So these are just ways that you can use this tool, and it looks overwhelming for sure, but they have great explanations that you can use very easily to figure out what each section is worth. You can also see common keywords. So this is what my community has been talking about. You can look at the top hashtags. So if people are using like very specific hashtags, then you can assess if it's relevant for your audience to and for your brand to be using those hashtags as well. And then you can see what's getting the most shares from people and like what keywords are being used in terms of what people are sharing about. Okay, where's the next one that I wanted to show you? So this is just a list of all the people that you're following. You can go through and actually manage your Twitter account through here. So you can add them to a list. You can unfollow or refollow, and you can just kind of scroll through here to see all of the different followers that you have. No. Here we are, discover new Twitter users. So this is another option that you can use. So you can look at, you can type in some keywords. So I'm going to say social media. And I'm going to find people in Toronto who are tweeting about social media. Okay, so right off the bat, I get a bunch of different options. So unmarketing, I'm already following him, so I don't want to click the unfollow button. Maybe, okay, this person looks interesting. Forbes tops 20 women on Twitter. Good enough for me. I'm going to follow her right here through the interface, which is taking quite some time. And I can also add her to a list right from here. So I'm going to add her to my social media list. Oops. Perfect. So this is a way for you to find new people that you can add to your community. I highly recommend that you add people to a list right as you're right as you start following them, because then you don't have to go back and do all that list management as well. And then you can also keep an eye on these people. So maybe you add them to a list called social media, but maybe I also add her to a list called new follows or something like that. And I can keep track to see whether or not she's engaging with my content. And if she does become somebody who engages, then that's great. If she doesn't really engage with my content and I don't find her tweets that important, then I can unfollow her as well. So you can scroll through, get a bunch of different, get a bunch of different options as well, but you can't scroll through to the end until you upgrade. But this is a good start. So you can get a chance to play around with this tool, use different keywords to find the right people for you and your brand. Okay, so let's talk about some content creation tools. One that I really like is Canva. It's free. It's free to use, but there are some add-ons that are paid. But basically, sign up for a free account at canva.com. You can use your email or your Twitter account or your Facebook account, and you can make all different kinds of graphics, and they have lots of templates for you. They have real designers that design these templates that then you can customize so that your content looks really awesome. So, if you're a blogger, you can use it for your blog. You can make infographics. It's really awesome. But for our purposes, we want to make a social media graphic. So you can also change the different, there you go. So, hey, I want to make a Twitter post. So everything loads here for you. You can get all of these free layouts. You can go through the walkthrough if you want to. Yeah, so you can pick whatever image you want, whatever backgrounds you want. You can upload your own. So let's say I want to use this one. Of course, I want to use the one with food in it. And if you want to change the background, you can very easily upload your own images from your computer and customize this. You can change the colors, you can change the fonts, you can do whatever you want. It's super easy. It's drag and drop, which is amazing. So, maybe you want to change it to blue. You want to change the fonts, you can change the font to whatever you want to do. Although I'm sure that the designers everywhere are cringing because they work so hard to get these perfect setups. But it's really easy to use. So you can use Canva to create any kind of free images. So that's really easy. I also wanted to show you, forgot to have it. Buffer.com has a tool called Pablo. It's also free, and you can use it to write your own content and your own quotes here. So you can search through all of these different images, and I mean, they don't just have mountains. Like, you can search for, let's say, marketing. What's going to pop? So there are like markets, I guess. They use Pixabay, which is a free resource. They use Unsplash, which is a free resource. They're not always going to be perfect matches. So obviously I was looking for marketing, not markets, but hey, flowers are pretty as well. You can edit, and you can change the contrast. So if you want it to just be the actual image, you can post that. You can do all sorts of different edits. You can change where your writing goes. You can insert your own logo or graphic, which is really amazing. So you can customize that for your business. And again, you can upload your own image. You can change the sizes as well. So if you want something for Pinterest, if you want something for Instagram, you want a Facebook or a Twitter post, everything can be done here. And you can also change the different ways in which you pull information together. So, you can post a quote, or you can post a title image or some sort of announcement. And you can also reposition the image to make it most relevant for what you're doing there. So then you can easily share and download it. So you can just download it to your computer, or you can send it to Twitter or Facebook. You can post it using Buffer. So I find this to be really easy. If you just have an image and you want to put some text on top of your image and you want it to look reasonably good, this is an option that you can use as well. So Pablo for Buffer, another free one. Okay, so I also want to talk about some link sharing options. Using a link shortener can be helpful. It used to be more helpful because they would eat up all of your all of your space in terms of your tweet size, but using Bitly or Google Shortener is also another way for you to get analytics. So, for example, I shared the state of social media marketing, or I shortened this link and probably sent it out a while ago on an account that clearly didn't get any clicks. But you'll be able to see that when somebody clicks on something, this number will go up. So you get some basic analytics through Bitly. And you can also customize. So this was not the, so I can customize this kind of what comes after the Bitly. So if you have some sort of white paper, or maybe you're posting an annual report or something like that, you can customize it so that it's not gobbledygook. So for example, if you are sending out a tweet that is your 2017 annual report for Coca-Cola, you can actually put 2017 Coca-Cola annual report, provided that somebody hasn't already used that Bitly name. So Bitly is one way of shortening your links. It's free. You paste your long URL and then you get a short URL. It's pretty simple. Another way of doing it is Google. So Google Docs, anytime I send out forms or anytime I link something into Blackboard, I was using these shorteners. So right here you can see this is my short URL, this is my original URL, this is when I created it, and you can see the clicks on the page, so you're getting some analytics as well. And of course, if your website is set up for Google Analytics, you'll be able to see exactly what people do on your website. But if you're sending people to articles that aren't yours, this is a good way of getting some information about how many people have clicked on it, because you might not be able to see that information otherwise. All right, and finally, website integration. So Twitter is pretty useless if you're using it in a vacuum. It's really important when it comes to marketing that you are integrating your social media efforts with all of your other digital marketing efforts. So you need to have Twitter on your website. So Twitter for developers, this is something that you can send to your web developers if they don't already, if they don't already have you set up on Twitter. But you can embed tweets into your blog posts. You can embed timelines so people can scroll through it. There are also the tweet and follow buttons. So you can use your tweet button. Somebody can click on it, and then a prompt comes up for you to tweet whatever page they're on. So this is really important if you want to increase shareability of your blog or any other website that you've got for your brand. And then there's also the follow button. So if you hit the follow button, then, do I want to follow the Twitter developers? Then yeah, I can hit follow them. The only qualm I have with this is that you can't add them to a list right from here, which is super annoying. Twitter has not made list management a priority for them, and it's totally a priority for me. Anyways, so this is what the follow button interface looks like. And I think it's really important that if you don't already have these on your website, that you consider adding all of these types of things. So again, you want to have integration across all of your platforms. If you're on your website and you have people that regularly visit your website, you want to be telling them that you're on Twitter. So having that follow button on Twitter is really important. At the same time, if you've got a really big email list, I know that a lot of people who have been doing like old school marketing for a really long time, and I'm including email in old school marketing, whether it's mailing lists or email lists. If you have these lists that exist of people that have already been using your product, you should be telling them that you're on Twitter. So in your email newsletter, you need to be having links to your Twitter accounts. If you do direct mail, making sure that you have the little Twitter icon at the bottom of your page with your @ handle, whatever your name is on Twitter. It's going to be really important for you to integrate across all of the different marketing channels so that you're making sure that people who love your brand know that you're on Twitter and can follow you. And that just means that you get to reinforce your brand in multiple places. Okay, let's take a look at your week 3 assignment, which is all about using the tools that we've talked about today. So what I want you to do is I'm going to get you to set up accounts with each of the different tools that we talked about in lecture. If you already have an account, that's great. You don't have to set up a new one because obviously you figured out how to use it the first time, but you are going to have to submit some screenshots. So really what the purpose of this assignment is to get you feeling familiar with these tools, to feel comfortable using these tools, because there is a very good chance that when you get into the workplace, if you aren't already working in a social media marketing role or a digital marketing role, when you do start working, you'll probably be using, Hootsuite or Buffer or some sort of tool. And if you can get familiar using something like Hootsuite, you can probably figure out almost any other service out there. So it's probably easiest to look at the rubric to see what I expect from you in terms of the different accounts that you should set up. So you're going to need to set up a Buffer account, a Hootsuite account, a TweetDeck account. I want you to make something in both Canva and Pablo. I want you to set up a Feedly account and then add at least one source to that Feedly account, and then find something on Feedly to tweet. I want you to tweet using a Bitly link shortener and a Google link shortener. So it is pretty straightforward. It's going to be a little bit time consuming to get everything done, and then you can just send screenshots. So that's how I kind of expect to see you submit your assignment. So you can just open a new Google document and then just take screen grabs of everything that you're doing. So once you have your Buffer account set up and you've sent a tweet through Buffer, you can just take your screen grabs of that. Similarly with Hootsuite, I want to see that you've got your Hootsuite account set up and that you've got some key columns set up and that you've tweeted using Hootsuite. Same thing with TweetDeck. And then when you are in Canva, you can take a screenshot of you in Canva, when you've created your document or your media, and then you can put that into your assignment document. Sorry, guys. And here's what I'm curious to know, if anybody would be interested in seeing just like a little bit of an extra video that shows you how to create a GIF using Canva, or a video using Canva. If you're interested in knowing more about that, tweet me at Ali Casella and use the hashtag comp9604. And yeah, if you're interested in seeing how we can use Canva to make some different GIFs or different types of animated or moving images, let me know. And it won't be part of your assignment, but if you're interested in that information, I'll do a quick video for you guys. So I think it's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, you can tweet me, you can send me an email. You get a total of 20 points for this assignment. You can see kind of where you're going to get the most points for. It's really important to set up your accounts with those columns. They're going to be worth 4 points each. So just make sure that you're going through everything and that you can, check each of these off. And for the most part, you're probably not going to get tons of feedback on this assignment because it's just kind of like, yes, you did all of the things that were on the list. But I think that going through and learning how to use the different tools will be helpful for you in the future. So that's it for this week. Thanks so much for listening all the way to the end, and I'll see you next week. Bye.